connecting.
What rules on your stream?
There's nothing.
No, sir.
No, like, so I'm hoping it'll start soon. Okay, receiving your content. All right, perfect. If people can plug it, that'd be much appreciated.
Per receiving your per content per.
And that's pretty good. All right, guys. I don't know if how long my computer's actually gonna be able to hold the stream, but pretty much there's an event next Saturday in Newcastle for Sydney being a VGC event, and for those of you who don't know, I've got to message that person. Simon, message the person I need to message. But I'm joined tonight by Simon. Also joined.
Hello.
Joined by Pdonnieson. Oh no, Mike. Hello? I think that worked better.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I like how professional I am.
so we're off to a riveting start.
Yeah, joined by Pdonnieson. Say hello, Pdonnieson.
Oh, well, hello.
Is Graham going to join or not? It's up to Graham though.
Are you interested in joining a team building stream?
Yeah, man. What for?
Just like general Sun series,
Fuck yeah, count us in.
talking about
like Sun series sort of stuff.
and then cats. Can someone message
Um,
cats for me to be like join call Gimp? So pretty much, yeah. So pretty. What I really wanted to do was let's talk about like different mechanics and stuff like that because we're
Actually,
what
I'll pop these fuckers on.
because like it's been what.
Oh, nice.
Nice. I think it's been about a month or two of like Pokemon events in Australia, and obviously you can tell. And obviously you can tell we're way too professional for this. But actually, Donnie, what's the actual rule set for Sun Series? Is this too restricted? No Megas, no Z moves. That's pretty much it, isn't it?
No Megas, no Z moves, 2 restricted mods.
Mythicals are all banned, and if you look at the stream, you'll be seeing me scrolling through all the mythical Pokemon. Where is James Katsaros? But oh, is that Cats? Cats, you're my god. Cats, say hello. We're streaming at the moment, I think. It's the usual how
Yeah, it's live.
it's how professional Bird is. We just start streaming randomly. But ooh, was that Cats? Just
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty good. No, because it said someone left again. I don't know. I'm too professional at this. But yeah, so pretty much, I was just gonna like look at.
Hello.
The ChosenFuture. So Cat.
Are we streaming?
Yeah, we're live at the moment. But Bird's being an idiot. Doesn't know how to stream.
Are we?
Yeah, we're.
Oh,
like,
we're not, so I can swear?
no,
Okay, all good.
we're streaming. You can swear, but I
Oh, okay.
recommend you keep it to a minimum. But it's okay if you swear, Cats.
Oh, I was about to talk about some FIFA things, and yeah, so it was gonna be a lot.
Wait, how good's FIFA? Is that what we're talking about? Nah, but we're talking about the Sun series and like a bit of a general team building and stuff like that. Cats has
That's fair.
Cats has a really good team for the meta at the moment. But we're not going to talk too much about that. I'm also going to go through the restricted because you're only allowed.
What's that? You saying busy boy tonight?
Oh,
I just love it. I love Oz. Oz VGC, man. Oz VGC. It's just
We're here to celebrate Pdonnison's win. That's what we're actually here for.
Yeah.
Picking up the W. First W since the start of last year. The man's a god.
We've been using this team for 2 events. We've lost 1 set, and that was to crits. Like, feels alright.
Yeah.
The goat, watch out, watch. Here's my hot tip for Brisbane Regionals right there. The man's on form.
Don't you have the most CP earned by an Australian in the VGC 19 specific format? 42?
No.
Oh, who's got more
No,
than him?
Chris can't, because there was an MSS today in Melbourne.
Yeah. Chris Khan's
Oh.
got 50, then Damon and I are tied at 42.
You should have.
No, Chris Khan has 60...
He has more than us. Fuck.
66.
Wait,
He
you
has
should.
more than us.
Why wasn't anyone running a Swagging McBuckets team? Like that's my question for the audience. Where were the Swagging McBucket teams in Melbourne today? That would have upset Chris Khan for Pdonnieson. But
Oh yeah, 100%. He's got to play for Donny.
yeah. But as I
Play
said,
for Pdonnieson. That's what's it.
It's
Anyway,
just,
go on with what you're saying.
yeah, it pretty much is going to be just like this. We're going to be talking about different restrictors and all that, because I think that the power creep of a lot of these restricted Pokemon is definitely something to consider. Should we start with what like the most easy Pokemon is to build around in this format, being the Xerneas?
Xerneas.
Yeah,
Xerneas, the best Pokemon in the format.
but weird that it's not.
100%
It's weird that it's not the highest in CP though. Like for how good it is, it's not like that high in CP compared to like Incin. Like Incins have been on like every team, but Xern hasn't.
because you're only allowed 2 restricteds. If every team could have a Xerneas on their team, and all of them would run a Xerneas on their team.
For sure. So are we? So we're gonna talk about like the 3 Xerneases that we've sort of seen, even though one's not really a real Xerneas set, but we should just mention it anyway.
What do you mean one's not a real Xerneas?
The life orbs.
Life Orb Xern.
Yeah, we've had one message this whole minute. I don't know who it was. Oh, it's Brady.
Where are you on this?
I'm on
Where
YouTube.
is it?
On YouTube. It's on my channel, streaming.
Oh, it's on YouTube. I was looking on Twitch.
Nah, it's on my YouTube channel. I can Brady, can you plug it in the Whalmer server? Because you can tell how professional we are. But Hobbit Xerneas was Life Orb, Moonblast, Hidden Power, Fire. I have his pace.
What's your channel, Burb?
The Flying Bird. We're too professional. You should. And then it was Protect.
What is your channel, Burb?
It's called The Flying Bird.
The Flying Bird.
Yeah. Brady, can someone just link it in a Discord? Where's Simon when we need him? So there's the Life Orb Xerneas set that won Sydney.
I want to see what you're looking at.
I'm just looking at Showdown at the moment.
So, Xerneas. So, Xerneas is the best Pokemon in the format. So, usually what you're going to see is the item. We don't need 5 Xerneas in there, Bird.
We only have 3, but good counting cats. We just need Power Herb, don't we?
Yeah, we just need Power Herb. Like, if you're not running Power Herb, I really don't know what you're doing. Winning
a Newcastle PC cat. So that's what you're doing if you're not running
Yeah,
Power Herbs.
like, we're looking for consistency of 9 rounds against people who... No Life Orb. I see you typing Life Orb.
Cats,
Is
you're behind
this
the
like
screen.
a 30-second delay?
Yeah, you're behind it.
Okay, I was about to say. So yeah, Power Herb, the 4 main moves you're going to see are Moonblast, Geomancy, Protect, and Dazzling Gleam. So the main reason why we have this Power Herb is because of the Geomancy, which is the most broken move in this format. It's essentially a massive setup that a lot of Pokemon can't deal with once it's set up.
Yeah.
Giving you +2 special attack, +2 special defense, and +2 speed. It becomes a real threat because Xerneas has massive special attack,
131.
alongside a lot of bulk with its ability Fairy Aura, allowing it to give it a free 1.3 times boost to all its fairy moves.
I think as well what makes Xerneas so hard at the moment is that everyone's preparing for Xerneas. Like, no, it's so over centralizing to a fact that like nearly not running Xerneas is such a like teams already have an advantage because people are like attacking things on random Pokemon to beat Xerneases. Master, what do you reckon is a good like?
So what you're going to see on a lot of
Sorry.
teams is
It's
Pokemon like Incineroar, which we'll go into later.
Yeah.
Pokemon like Amoonguss, Ferrothorn, Duskmane, Necrozma is one popular restricted to counter Xerneas. And sort of these sort of bulky steel or bulky poison types in order to sort of deal with Xerneas, try to hit it for weakness or maintain it by using moves like Roar, Clear Smog, putting it to sleep. Because if against a lot of teams, if it gets this boost up for free sort of and start picking up 1-2 knockouts, then the game's already over.
I think as well with Xerneas is that you also then do have a couple of tech moves in terms of we've seen a couple of them, but I think it's more so in the teams. But you also do have the Power Herb, and you can have the sub. Is it sub Moonblast? Geomancy? Yeah,
Substitute has been on a lot of popular sort of teams winning regionals in the US. Substitute Xerneas to sort of block these spores and clear smogs from Amoonguss. Also to sort of just like you know, get up a sub for free, use their other partners to gain some form of board position, get this substitute, and basically geomancy freely of taking any damage that turn. Yes, it costs 25% of your health, but once that zone's geomancy, it's more likely against the certain threats getting 2-hit KO'd, 1-hit KO'd, and that 25% doesn't really matter a lot in the long run.
Yeah. I think as
because
well.
if you can guarantee your setup, get a couple kills, and yeah, essentially the same sort of outcome. The only thing with that substitute is that you lose a lot of sort of sweeping potential.
Yeah.
Dazzling Gleam is a very important move as well, just because it gives a massive consistent spread damage to a lot of things. If it's not hitting something for super effective, it's probably at least doing 50% if it's not resisted.
So Cats,
So
I was just going to say, you know how that some Xerneas, for example, will forego like one of its fairy moves for a coverage move. Do you have a, if you were going to build down that route, do you have a preference in terms of which move you forego, being that Moonblast or Dazzling Gleam, or do you think that just mono fairy is just the way to go?
I think Moonblast is, if you're running substitute, you definitely need Moonblast over Dazzle.
Yeah.
But it's probably that tie up between substitute and Dazzling Gleam, if anything.
So
I personally like Dazzle
Yeah.
because it sort of enables your Xerneas to become sort of like an end game sweep. Because if you have a pocket Xern in the back and sort of do some damage if you're other restricted, whether it be your Veltal, Groudon, Kyogre if you must run Xern Ogre, do some damage, keep like sort of like a fake out or support mon in the back with like Incineroar, bring in the Xerneas late game, click fake out, Geomancy, and you can just Dazzle sort of clean up the game from there.
Yeah. See, I think as well with Xerneas that makes it like a reason not to forego that move is just how good fairy typing is. In terms of, like, besides steals, you really don't have anything that wants to take a Xerneas hit. Like, even most dark types, like even Incineroars, don't want to take that fairy hit. And that's why,
No. It's really weird because you would assume that with the presence of sort of Fairy Aura, with Xerneas being such a popular mon, you would see a lot of like sort of fairy centralized teams, like, but you see, because it's sort of. I hear this. I hear the stream.
Yeah, I know, because I loaded up on my phone so I can read comments. Told you, too professional.
What I was saying is that you usually see sort of like some form of like fairy Pokemon next to it, sort of abusing that fairy aura. But in a lot of teams, you don't really see that.
Yeah.
It's more sort of teams that are built around Xerneas are centralized around support because it's more of support the Xern rather than that. And these sort of fairy Pokemon, as long as they can be hard hitting like Tapu Lele, Tapu Koko, you don't really see a lot of them seen. And if you see other Pokemon with Xerneas, it's more sort of a support. So you would use Lele not because of Fairy Aura, but for a sort of a psychic terrain sort of protection from fake out. Coco Sleep, Finny is just all status moves. So you're sort of seeing like a lot of teams have this sort of maybe secondary fairy type if they have one, but it's more sort of a support rather than a actual sort of nuke hitter with fairy aura, as you would see.
So Cats, then I want to ask you, do you want to go through the process of building around a Xerneas rather than trying to talk about other restricteds, or which way do you think this would be going? Going better.
Well, I think a lot of Xerneas teams, when they're mixed with sort of other things that they need. I just saw Masto PM, you big fan.
Masto, you're allowed to talk, man. You don't have to be starstruck. It's only me and Cats.
I don't have to be me. So it really depends sort of on what the team and how you want to build it. So I think the main sort of thing that you want to start with is probably getting the 2 restricted core Pokemon that you want to run, or maybe like a core Pokemon of 4. And from that, particular with your Xerneas, you then want to decide what speed you want to run. I think speed's a very important factor in the game, and a lot of people sort of skip out on that speed going, oh, I want to hit hard and hit sort of get some bulk and stuff like that. And as you probably see at the start of the season, a lot of people just run a lot of max speed Pokemon, and as the season progresses, a lot of things get slower and slower and slower.
Do you think
which shouldn't really be the case, because I think speed is sort of the most consistent or the most important stat of a Pokemon. If you go first, that could mean the difference between getting set up or doing something else. And compared to other Pokemon that are common threats in this game, it's really important to know what you outspeed and what you don't outspeed at certain points.
I was just gonna say though, considering that Gyro Ball has been the main reliable way for people to beat their like opposing Xerneases, do you think that's where like that speed factor is even more crucial when building around Xerneas?
I think definitely, like with some Pokemon, including like Stack Attacker. Stack Attacker wouldn't matter sort of what your speed stat is unless you're like running minus speed, which I don't see a reason to do or anyone should do. But yeah, it's sort of, you need to know sort of what you need to live or if you want to live it at all. If you're relying on your zone, like not having a partner like Groudon, killing stuff like Ferrothorn or leaving stuff like Ferrothorn, Jarable, and Bronzong Jarable become a lot more important because you don't have that strong sort of, even though Groudon's not a fire type, but like that fire type sort of coverage in Sun in order to do the massive damage.
I was gonna say that 1.5 is Fire Punch. So do you want to then? So you've raised an interesting point. Then should we start off with the Groudon Xerneas core? Because I personally don't know how good of a core it is, but I know from like how my CP standing is. Of course, I came forth at the Newcastle Regional PC with my whole 12 CP.
Newcastle Regional Championship.
He's been calling them regionals the entire time.
Yeah, I know. But like,
it's a little painful at times, but you get used to it.
Yeah, but like, I think that maybe that's the way we should look at. So, you've mentioned that the main purpose of having a Groudon next to a Xerneas is for that Fire Punch. Like, and then
yes. It sort of also hits the sort of
the precipice
the coverage that Xerneas doesn't hit.
As well.
It's poison steals with Persepolis.
Persepolis.
Blacephalon blades. Yeah, so like it just does consistent damage with that. It sort of goes hand in hand, sort of counters it. It's obviously a lot weaker than what we saw in VGC 16 because we don't have that access to that primal Groudon with that primal weather yet.
And the fire typing.
And the fire typing. But I mean, if you're versing stuff like Tangler, that doesn't matter anyway.
Add whoever came 16th at Worlds last year.
No, but like in all seriousness, yeah, it's just a really good mon to sort of cover it. Stuff like Lunala also hitting. Lunala's also seen with Ashton Tox and Jeremy Rodriguez both sort of making the final with the same 6 with Lunala Xerneas because as it says, it goes hand in hand almost with Lunala hitting massive damage on stuff like Dustmane and Solgaleo with its Moongeist Beam, whether it's Specs, Spooky Plate, can also be interesting in terms of a Psych Up option. Sort of having that Shadow Shield and clicking Psych Up next to your Xerneas. So people will target the Xerneas, use the threat, and then suddenly you have this boost to Lunala on the field,
so just
which acts as a major threat as well.
I was just going to say, touching on what Lunala's main ability is, its Shadow Shield cannot be, it's
only ability.
Thank you, Simon. But it's a better multi-scale because opposing Moongeist Beams don't affect it. But then, from my understanding as well, and Pdonnieson is like better at the like mechanics than I am. When it goes for those Moongeist Beams into Duskmane Necrozmas, which typically have those Prism Armor sets, you're effectively hitting it super effectively, and you're ignoring that Prism Armor debuff. And
no, Prism Armor does.
Prism Armor does not affect.
Is it ignored?
Moongeist Beam is still doing a lot of damage. With regards to sort of like, say, with your Xerneas, most Dustmanes are still taking a roughly 40-50% from a +2.
Let's do the damage calc then, so people can actually see this. As poor quality as my stream is, it only took me about 3 years to download it and like load the damage calc. So I was about to type in Moongeist Beam. How can you see? I'm using Sand.
It also, with the Lunala, it also has stuff like Psyshock with that Psyche typing to sort of hit stuff like a Moongeist that are very important as well.
Yeah, and also as well Psyshock for other opposing Xerneases as well. So like I'm looking at, are you sure Moongeist Beam isn't ignored by Prism Armor? Because it's saying that
Prism Armor is sort of like a buffed up Mold Breaker, or not Mold Breaker, buffed up.
It can't be ignored.
No, it's a better filter.
It's a better filter.
Oh yeah, that's the most. But I was gonna say,
My bad.
According to this, though, Moongeist Beam still does 127 to it. I'm just gonna double check with Shadow Ball as a ghost move, just because I want to make sure that it's calculating correctly for the viewers at home. All three of them, but yeah, no, it's saying the Shadow Ball still should do 127 min. I don't think does that sound right to you guys? Because it doesn't to me, but that's no bulk necros.
Yeah, that's no bulk. I mean, if you're running what Specs Lunala, I'm assuming.
No, this is not even specs.
Yeah. No, Crossbow can.
Oh no, it's got Dawnwings as Psychic Ghost. Whoops, that's the mistake. Psychic Steel, Shadow Ball.
Yes.
It's a 2-shot.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
I don't know.
Dawnwings Necrozma is just not there in terms of viability, just because of those reasons.
So, okay, so.
But yeah, like, if a lot of popular item in Specs as well, so you're doing massive damage with it.
You can go for
And Duskmane can calc to live the Specs Lunala as well, which is something.
But you're almost putting it like in range with a lot of Duskmane. Like if you're doing massive damage to it, putting some chip on it and then hitting it hard like that, then a lot of Pokemon can't sort of live that sort of hit.
Yeah, it's not living of much, but it can live depending on the set.
Gonna say as well. So Kat, you raised an interesting point about Lunala then, about then running Tapu Lele with like Xerneas. Or would you run Lele Lunala? Because I think it's like if you are gonna bring Xerneas Lunala, Tapu Lele could be like not vital on that team, but it helps out on both sides because it boosts that Lunala.
It's definitely a nice option.
And helps that Xerneas, or would you not? Because like terrain control
it's definitely an option. It's just depending on what sort of matchups you want to play against. Yeah. As you say, like a lot of teams don't even necessarily have a Tapu on it.
I think terrain control is extremely underrated though.
I think terrain control is extremely important as well, but if you're almost sort of like, if you have this Xerneas team and you have your own Lele, you want to sort of bring the Lele, but you also want to bring, like, you help Xerneas set up support.
Yeah.
And it's very sort of conflicting, because if you bring one of the most popular Pokemon in the format, Incineroar, with it, you lose sort of that access to that fake out sort of without bringing Lele.
So what you're nearly saying...
Arguably the most valuable thing about that Pokemon.
So what you're saying is that it's not just about loot, like it's about how your terrain control, like, you know, like limits it as well
against other teams as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say then if you were gonna go, because like I know how much you've talked about Incin plus Xerneas, would you then look at more of a Coco or like Finny in contrast then, just for that, so you can have access to your Incineroar's fake out?
Yeah, I think that's very important, because especially if you're building with a restricted, like, if you don't have like a Groudon, for example, not being able to change the weather against Kyogre, especially if they have Lele, is very important, because if they're running Scarfoga, they bring in the Lele and you're not able to sort of have that priority move, and you don't have anything faster on that team. You're just going to cop a Water Spout, and no Pokemon sort of appreciates that.
So do you think then that, like, I'd be interested to hear like Graham or Master's thoughts on this. How much do you think that when building around Xerneas, like about these other mechanics, like board control mechanics of things like weather, things like terrain, like what's your take on that?
Probably trick around Xerneas with building around Xerneas is making sure he doesn't get touched. Key things that come to mind is definitely fake out, redirection, so stuff like following Rage Powder. Also for that spout, White Guard's very handy as well, so that's why Smougle's a very popular option to pair with Xerneas, just because he gets all those. Gives you control, it gives you a lot of
everything you could want for letting a Pokemon set up, Smeagol gets.
So, Graham,
that's why it's such a popular... Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, when you're talking about Smeagol, like what set? Are you talking about like the Moody Fake Out Lovely Kiss one, or is there one that you would prefer?
It just varies. Hey, like
Lovely Kiss is disgusting.
I'll just think the key ones are Fake Out, Follow Me, and White Guard. They're your three core ones, I reckon. I guess wide guard maybe so much if you have a good matchup over Kyogre and I guess grab on anything with heavy spread moves. But look, it's a personal choice. I think if you're going for something more accurate and reliable, definitely Spore. But yet again, there are some mons that you prefer to put to sleep, like stuff like Amoonguss, which with something like Lovely Kiss rather than Spore, because Spore doesn't put those grass types to sleep. So yeah, I guess that's it. Just comes down to personal preference and what you build for, what matchups you struggle with the most, I guess. But yeah, I mean, overall, Smeargle Xerneas, I mean, if you're building a team to set up Xerneas, like Smeargle's definitely got to come to mind.
Yeah.
Another thing to consider on Smeargle, which lately a lot of people haven't been looking in that direction, but it's definitely an option that's worth considering in my mind, is Spiky Shield, because sometimes the double protect turn 1 to stall out the fake outs can be what you need for Smeargle to then help your Xerneas turn 2.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But you do have to drop something for that.
That's right. So if you were gonna, I mean, if I was making a Smeargle with Spiky Shield, you'd probably want to drop something like Wide Guard then. I think putting a Pokemon to sleep and having Follow Me with Fake Out are 3 must.
Yeah.
Moves, in my opinion. Like, I feel like that you can't drop Follow Me, you can't drop Fake Out, because they're the key to preventing those big double targets, double moves into Xerneas when you're trying to set up.
See, I think that with Smeargle, and this is, as you said, comes to personal preference, I prefer to split those on that team, if that makes sense. So instead of having one mon that can do the role of 3 Pokemon, I prefer to have 3 Pokemon, if that makes sense. So, like, what I really liked was, I really liked having Red Card Amoonguss, and I think that Red Card Amoonguss is probably getting too obvious as a tech now, but for what it was, I think it still is a very nice, like, board control position one, because it doesn't really want to take any Xerneas hit, and provided you can keep that red card in check, like, it's just...
Yeah, definitely. I think since you're moving on to items here, I think that's a very common counter. When people set up a Xerneas as a lead, but you probably see the more experienced players, they're very familiar with the red card, so they'll probably try to attempt to set up the Xerneas late game where they can't be switched out like that.
Yeah.
But look, I just think, like, if you're building around Xerneas, I mean, the goals for building a successful Xerneas team, you got to prevent your Xerneas from getting knocked out. That's the number one key. The next step is to not get status, and probably the last step is to not lose your boost that you gain. So I mean, for me, if I'm ever countering a Xerneas team, I think the number one check and the most underrated move in the game is Haze.
Yes.
Because the only thing that can stop it is Taunt.
So, what mon in particular then do you like for Haze, if it doesn't give away too much of your strats?
Oh, there's plenty, I reckon. You've got the Crobat's fantastic for that. He's, you've got great defensive typing against the boosted Zern. He can take plus, so you can literally just Tailwind first turn, play set up, you can Haze the next turn, and they're back to square one. So that's a common one for Haze.
It also gets the inner focus so that they can't stop your Tailwind unless they have faster Taunt.
That's exactly right.
Although they do have the option to match it.
Yeah.
See, I think that with Crobat, what I really like is those Super Fang sets. And because you just put...
Haze is generally on those sets as well.
But I'm just talking like... because like
Crobat is just a nice...
Because the way that I'm sort of approaching this is like assuming that this is someone's like first ever time seeing VGC, and like obviously we're going to try to playtest with a team but we just want to talk about like in general the different mechanics. I think Kat's has done a pretty good job at explaining about like with your Xerneas, and I think Graham put it out brilliantly, is the reason that people are running the wide guard support is to is how prevalent spread moves are. Like, two of the next popular restricted Pokemon are both Kyogre and Groudon, and their main form of damage output is spread moves. So having that wide guard support can really use Xerneas.
For those that are unfamiliar with some of the common spread moves, you've got the Water Spout from Kyogre, which has that rain boosted option, and when Kyogre's at full HP, that's doing a lot of damage. It's base 150 power from max HP. You got your Precipice Blades from Groudon, which is base 120 power. That's a strong, hard, stab physical move from him as well.
Non-contact as well.
Non-contact as well. So if a Pokemon's going to do something like King Shield, you're not going to be making direct contact with it, so you're not going to lose any of your, you're not going to have your attack stat half. So that's very handy, especially, and even if your opponent's setting up Spiky Shield as well to protect themselves, you won't cop any recall damage from using Precipice Blades. Another common spread move as well is Dazzling Gleam from Xerneas. As we're speaking of him, even without the Geomancy boosted, fairy moves from Xerneas, he's, with his ability and along with that base 130 plus special attack stat, it's doing a good chunk. If you're using Dazzling Gleam with Xerneas, it's not just doing slight chip to Pokemon. It's probably doing good solid 35% to 40, just depending on the bulk and the type of the Pokemon. So never underestimate the power of the spread moves with all these big legendary Pokemon. And that's I guess that's why we're bringing up the wide guard support for Xerneas, because all it takes sometimes is to, if you don't have the right support next to Xerneas, just say you got someone that isn't so much of a supportamon that can do the follow me or wide guard. Is that if you've got two Pokemon that are fast and Xerneas, you can just use spread moves, just go Water Spout, Dazzling Gleam, and that could essentially just kill the Xerneas before he clicks any moves. So
you raise an interesting,
and that's where,
let alone the partner.
So I was gonna say, Graham, you made an interesting point earlier about people pocketing Xerneases. Cats, what's your thoughts on people pocketing their Xerneas? Like, do you think that it really comes down to what you see in preview, or because
I think any play is sort of acceptable as long as you determine it to be your win condition. I mean, a lot of issues with a lot of players in these type of formats where you have these sort of big restricted power creeped Pokemon is identifying your win con in sort of matchups and sort of games. In a lot of cases, you sort of see people get sort of 2 KOs in one turn, and you'd think at a 4-2 advantage, this may be that, this is beneficial. How can they clearly lose from there? But with power like sort of a Xerneas in the back or a Groudon with sort of support Pokemon, this can massively shift the sort of momentum, and you sort of need to know when you need to pull the trigger on killing stuff, when you need to switch out and preserve Pokemon in general, because in this format where you have such a massive sort of power creep and you really get punished for making a wrong play, a wrong turn one even, you need to sort of know and judge these players, which was happened a lot in 16, where you had a lot of Smeagol Xerneas mirrors, or which nowadays you see Incineroar Xerneas mirrors, or sort of a Groudon Venusaur or something like that. Sometimes killing one Pokemon means that you lose the game rather than win the game due to board positioning and sort of how you can win from that.
I was just going to say that
that's another topic in itself, board positioning. It's if you're a beginner coming on the scene and you're playing your first couple of rounds, you're thinking, oh man, I've killed 2 Pokemon, I've got 3 left, 3v2. I'm in the the hot seat at the moment. I've got the momentum. But you know what? If you've got if you've got your speed control, which is a big tool in VGC, That 2 can easily sweep the 3 Pokemon that the other opponent has. If you got your speed control and you got your firepower at the back, so yeah, definitely. That's another topic in itself, isn't it, guys?
It's a very big thing, and it's a very hard thing to sort of use and identify at times.
I was gonna say though, Cats, you brought up
it's also having.
No, you go on, Cat. Sorry.
Yes, go on.
No, I was gonna say you go on, and then I'll say my point.
I was just gonna say stuff like Xerneas in general, like a big check to it is a raw, mainly seen from Pokemon like Incineroar and Heatran a little bit. And when you only have 2 Pokemon sort of left, that also becomes useless in a way. So sort of a lot of people's reliance on these hard zone checks can sometimes crumble a little bit, depending on sort of the state of the game and how this stuff is sort of folding out.
See, whereas I sort of see it as well, and this is my question I was going to ask you, Cats, how much does Incineroar having Intimidate help out Xerneas in this metagame? Like, because if you think about back to like VGC 16, there wasn't, like, besides Hitmontop, which eventually won Worlds, there weren't that many Pokemon with Intimidate Fake Out, and for whatever reason, Incin just seems to reign supreme.
It didn't really have as vital role in 2016 compared to possibly 2017 and 2018, maybe 2015 as well. What do you reckon, Cats?
I think what you see is a lot different to what you see from last year. Whereas Incineroar was sort of the best Pokemon in the format due to the factor that it had the Holy Trinity of Intimidate, Fake Out, and U-Turn. As you see on a lot of Incineroar, sort of this format, a lot of them are dropping this U-Turn, having stuff like Knockoff due to sort of in the Sun series, everything has to have an item. So you will see this change, sort of this move slot going into something like an Ultra series where you should only really see 3 items on a team compared to 6 that you see now. But I think the reason why it's so good in this format is due to sort of having this Intimidate with Fake Out, but it's just got good typing. Fire Dark is a very good typing with very good stats due to it being a starter Pokemon, that it can sort of tank these fairy moves from Xerneas, resist sort of, although it struggles versus the 2 sort of primals that are banned, Groudon and Kyogre at the moment. It sort of acts as this massive support Pokemon due to its Intimidate and Fake Out presence with tech moves including Roar and potentially U-Turn if you want to sort of have this sort of positioning, if you want to go along the lines of like an Assault Vest set.
See, I've seen U-Turn increase a lot recently, especially on teams that want that weather control. So I'm seeing it more and more with the Incins. However, I do think that what makes Xerneas Incin such a devastating core is the fact that Xerneas' natural checks are, for whatever reason, being those steel types, obviously for type advantage, but also just the prevalence of Psyshock. If you can get a read turn 1 with your Xerneas, going, like, pivoting into your dark type, especially by, like, an opposing Lele or Lunala, and go hard into your Incineroar slot, and you effectively take no damage, and then you can start, like, with your other restrictor, like, let's say an example, Groudon. Your Groudon then gets a free SD turn 1 because people are over focusing on that Xerneas slot, that you get a massive second turn. I think that's where like Incin also has a very nice niche in that sort of setting.
I think it also ties back to what Graham was saying earlier with how you don't really want your Xerneas taking damage. If you limit to sort of a Pokemon, only one Pokemon attacking on that turn while you set up, but also using that Intimidate to stop powerful moves that against it, like the Gyro Ball. A lot of Xerneas can live a lot of Gyro Balls very easily at -1 with a very little investment due to that massive base HP, with or without the Geomancy, that is. That it sort of makes Incineroar really good, alongside being good against those checks that beat Xerneas, like your Ferrothorns, like your Kartanas, like your stack attackers. I mean, limiting their damage output alongside hitting them for either 4 times effective with some of those, or just neutral damage, or getting rid of stuff like safety goggles on stack attacker, which is seen as a big item. So you can use something like an Amoonguss to redirect gyrables later on in the game or put it to sleep. That's also a massive factor.
Yeah.
That is sort of underrated, and probably why it's a very splashable Pokemon in this format, and that's why it's sort of got the #1 in usage.
I think as well. So sorry, you go, Cats.
Yeah, with sort of like on Battle Spot at the moment, you see a lot of U-turn is the 4th biggest move at 54% usage across the ladder, but with 29% of being those Incineroars being Assault Vest, you're going to have at least 29% of that usage having that U-turn. So it's sort of roughly neck and neck between Roar and U-turn on these berry sets that a lot of people are tossing up on, it seems.
Yeah, I was just going to say... Sorry, you go, Graham.
Oh, just for people out there, just say if you're new and wondering, why are people, using U-turn on something like Incineroar that's not necessarily the biggest, damage output from a move. Why don't I just switch out? The thing that makes, the thing that makes U-turn such a great move on Incineroar at times, because when you know that an opponent is potentially going to swap in a Pokemon like, say, Kyogre, that can come in and do big damage to Incineroar the next turn, when you click a move like U-turn, it gives you that option to pivot. So instead of like swapping out straight away and realizing, oh damn, he didn't actually swap in his Kyogre, like you can U-turn and be like, all right, he actually didn't bring in his Kyogre this turn. You can bring in something at the back that can come in and adjust to what's in front of him.
I was going to say...
There's plenty of advantages to switching later than your opponent. Like that, seeing what their switches are is the biggest one. The other noteworthy one is if you've got something in the back that you want to get in safe for next turn, using something like U-turn allows you to get it in with the Incineroar taking the damage if your opponent's faster than the Incineroar, rather than the Pokemon you're switching in.
See, I think as well, the reason that U-turn has sort of resurfaced on Incin is because people are running Ludicolo on teams. And the way that sort of helps as well is anything that's going to have, like you mentioned it earlier, Graham, taking that little bit of chip damage to weaken things like Water Spout, but you also just break Focus Sashes. Because a lot of these teams
That's very handy. Yeah.
Are relying upon Focus Sash.
That's a good point, Bert.
Thank you for Graham. That's
That's a good point. Look, that's why U-turn's so great on Incineroar. It's just got multi-purposes. Gives you that board positioning that we were talking about. And board positioning in VGC is huge. So yeah, look, that's definitely the reason why it's a very common 4th move set, along with its common fake out, flare blitz, knockoff. So yeah, look, that was pretty well explained, guys.
I was gonna say, Cats, as we've probably mentioned now, how much we've talked about Incin, I think it's only fair that when we're starting to build this team, I think the restricted's going to come later, because I think there's a lot of restricteds we can theory mod around. Do you want to start this team with that standard Xerneas that you've mentioned, but then pairing it with Incineroar? And which Incineroar do you think we should be using?
I think there's a standard sort of Incineroar set that's going around at the moment. This set is well sort of recognised by a lot of people and is used a lot. This investment in Incineroar allows it to live timid Moonblast. It depends if you want to have U-turn or Raw, sort of. This really works with sort of a Raw set. So it's designed to live this timid Moonblast from +2 from the Xerneas and eat its Barrion and roar it out, and thus getting rid of the threat.
See, I really think that the way we've talked about like people playing the Xerneas, I think I want to try out the U-turn in Sin. And
You want to try out the U-turn in Sin? Yeah, that's fine. With regards
To
to
hear
that,
the disappointment in your voice.
well,
yeah, I really.
no, because like
I
was gonna
Yeah,
say,
that's fine. If you want to be assault vest, you can be assault vest. But if you want to be sort of that U-turn, sort of still be able to eat a berry, I'm pretty sure the same set sort of still is relevant.
I mean, Cats, if we want to go raw specifically for like opposing Trick Room, then we can go raw. I was just wanted to see.
I mean, it's up to you. I mean, like, I just think that the set still applies whether you run U-turn or raw, because you still want to be able to pivot around a Xerneas, which is still very important.
So is that 232 careful?
236.
236.
236.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
Careful.
Yeah, it's 236. 236. Careful Incineroar, with the other 32 EVs being able to be distributed in sort of any way you want.
So
36 remaining.
I think.
Yeah, 36.
May I mention in my opinion, a great speed stat to hit for Incineroar is it's hitting that 84 speed stat mark at level 50 with those leftover EVs, which, as you said, 36. So of those 36 EVs left over, I think a great investment is that 28. Reason behind that is if your team has a tailwind up, you end up being faster than base 99 speed Pokemon, such as your Xerneas and your Veltas.
You're still faster than your base.
You're faster than base
Still
100s
faster
as
than
well.
Base 100s as well.
I'm too many, but like you can see like a road fall or something like that.
And that's handy too, because just say you got a tailwind up and your opponent brings in their, you know, Xerneas last minute, and you're at that stage where you're like, man, I wish I could roar this guy right now. And then you realise, hey, I'm faster. You can do a quick knockoff before they use their power herb to geomancy up. So that's really handy for starters, and you know, for as little as 28 EVs investment, I think that's wise. The second reason.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll quickly say this. The second reason why you probably don't want to be like just the guy, you know, stuff. I'll just put the remaining 36 EVs there. Is that another key stat is when Incineroar is at 84 speed stat, he's still slower than the primals, the min speed primals under Trick Room.
Assuming no Iron Ball or Macho Braids or things like that.
yeah,
No items.
That's a good point.
but like yeah, I was gonna say that speed set definitely helps, because the sort of two variants of these next two primals, or you know, Ho and Legendaries, has been either very fast Kyogres or a very slow bulky Kyogre, and then you have really mixed speed tiers with your Groudons. And I think with the Incin, we've sort of gone over a lot now to say, like, look, it really comes down to that fourth slot depending on the rest of the team. And I think that what Graham mentioned earlier about that Crobat and its ability to haze and tailwind, and especially because you're talking about like how this Incin needs sort of that tailwind support to function, I think that Crobat could be an interesting Pokemon on this team. But Cats, what do you think about?
The other thing about that Incin spread is, even though there's not really any investment defense, it's mainly just health and special defense. You do still survive max attack Groudon when they're at -1 from your Intimidate.
So, Cats, what do you think about so you've got this Zern in Sin. I know double fake out is a big thing on Xerneas teams, whether that becomes a Raichu, goodness me, I can't think, Ludicolo or a
The common fake out, common fake out Pokemon you've got is the Raichu, both Alolan form and the regular form. What else? You've got your Incineroar, got your Smeargle, got your you've seen a bit of success from Toxicroaks over in the States.
Sheer force hell,
Donnie, stop it.
They're your common fake out users, guys. So
So Lazzle,
yet again,
if you're
like,
Brisbane.
may I mention that with this fake out, with these multiple fake out mons, if you're the thing that fake out is what I think is the best move to use when you're setting up, your Xerneas for Geomancy, is that you completely just you flinch your Pokemon, you stop them from attacking from the turn. So just say you've got 2 or 3 fake out Pokemon in your team, as you've probably seen the Ashen Cox and Jeremy's Xerneas Lunala team. 3 fake out mons right there, guys, and just say if you're leading 1 fake out mon and you've got Xerneas sitting there, and just say you're in a position where, I could fake out 1 Pokemon, but they might have another Pokemon. Just say they have 2 Pokemon that can really harm Xerneas. You can even do that. You swap your fake out Pokemon out, get another one in, and try and protect with Xerneas, and try again the next turn. And you just kind of reposition yourself. And as you said, the reason why Incineroar was so good there is because you got that Intimidate to sort of weaken those common hard physical steel hitting moves on the Xerneas before setting up. And when you're versing something like Xerneas that is already pretty bulky as it is, every little bit of chip damage counts. So I think drawing back on the fake out topic, I think that's probably one of the reasons why there's so many. It just gives more turns where Xerneas can set up and take less damage.
And once you're set up, fake out effectively turns the game into a 1v1 for that turn, and very few Pokemon want to be in a 1v1 against a boosted turn.
So Graham, you mentioned earlier that the Ashton Cox team had 3 fake out users. What 3 were they? So was it Toxicroak and Sin, and then Smeargle?
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, Masso. Yeah, Masso said Smeargle, Toxicroak, and Incineroar.
So
all 3, and you know what? All 3 have a different role. Even though they all have fake out, they all check certain threats to Xerneas.
So Cats, what would be your next sort of mon looking at Xerneas and Sin? We have the Xerneas and Sin in front of us. How do you go? What's the next step?
I think the rest of it depends on your second sort of restricted Pokemon.
So, which restricted do you want to go down this road? And obviously, as well, there is a team you have at the moment that I don't want to draw too much attention to.
Oh, thanks for keep on repeating this statement, but I really appreciate it.
Neck minute, bird neck dropped. Sorry, Cats.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's fine. I mean, it's more about how I play rather than what I play at this point.
Cats. Everyone C teams you in Australia already, so it doesn't really matter.
I mean, it's good against Brisbane, so that's all I need to worry about.
Master's laughing.
So we pointed out Groudon and Lunala have nice synergy with it earlier.
Lunala,
so those are 2
you'd probably pair it with a Pokemon that is a threat to Xerneas. So the ones we identified were being Groudon, Lunala, and Yveltal are probably the main ones. You do see a couple of teams with a Kyogre. I don't know if they've done well at regionals, but I know that a lot of players have been sort of running it. It finished top first, and it finished top 16 in Frankfurt, and it finished first in Frankfurt. But that was more of a sort of a hardcore rain team variant. So it all depends on what sort of road you want to go. Do you want to build a sort of hardcore rain variant I'm going to butcher his name, but Mateo used in Frankfurt? Do you want to sort of go along the lines of, okay, Zern Ogre with some lightning rod support? You could go Lunala Zern with sort of the support for Xerneas, or you can go hard Xerneas, or you can sort of go a Sun mode. Like you see commonly with sort of a Venusaur Heatran sort of vibe.
So what you're saying,
really sort of.
So what you're sort of saying though, Cats, is that restricted Pokemon effectively takes up 2 slots on this team, because for example, you're adding, for example, let's say we went Kyogre on this team, the next step would be either to add a Ludicolo or a Toxicroak, to then benefit from that position.
I mean, it really sort of depends on how you want to build the team. You could build like a hard rain team and make sure you destroy this sort of Groudon matchup, or you can kind of go for like a soft check with like maybe something along the lines of adding a Venusaur in there, in case you verse that Sun matchup and you don't really want to set up your sort of your rain sort of mode, or bring your rain mode in general, because a lot of those teams have stuff like Kartana on it, which can threaten Kyogre and Xerneas at the same time.
And why don't we run Rayquazas? Like, if Rayquaza can like shut down both these weather modes, why aren't we seeing Xerneas Rayquaza?
Rayquaza is a very bad Pokemon right now. This is due to the fact of not only being weak to Xerneas, but having a very bad stab flying move.
Also, it's speed stat as well.
Due to the banning of Dragon Ascent.
I think it's more so its speed stat as well that hurts it a lot. Like, it's a base 95 rather than a base 115. That's where I really see it.
I mean, yes, yeah, that's important also. But yeah, we probably won't see it until the Ultra Series, unfortunately.
Or the next Newcastle event. One of the two.
Mate, all I'm saying, there was more chance of a fight happening at that Newcastle event than a actual Rayquaza pumping up.
Oh, I don't know. It is home to a
I mean, let's not
huge
go any.
Rayquaza fan.
Let's not go any further with that wormer.
Yeah.
Let's like.
So like,
I need a lawyer, boy. If anyone has a lawyer.
Oh, cats, don't bring it.
Be careful what you say.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So like looking at it from like multiple perspectives, things like Zekrom are quite low in viability. I was gonna say variability is like that's not make sense.
Yeah.
Zygarde is also virtually non-existent. Like I've seen a few interesting other concepts.
With some success.
Zygarde has.
Yeah, Zygarde's had some success.
I mean, if you mean success as in like rising up showdown ladder, yeah, sure.
It cut Memphis.
Cut Memphis, yeah. Oh,
I Magic Up.
Psychic Seed, yeah. Psychic, not Psychic Seed, sorry.
Misty Seed.
Misty Seed, yeah.
Yeah.
Well supported with Fenny, supporting said Fenny, such as like Swagger, Heal Pulse, Icy Wind, has Haze for the Xerneas. Just same do again, protecting that legendary Pokemon. So
it can work, but it needs work to work.
It needs a whole team to support it. Whereas with Xerneas, all you need is a couple. Like in my opinion, you just need a couple of fake out Pokemon and pretty good at getting the G off.
Well, hello Verd. Yeah, the voice to you as well. Yeah, I think like when you're looking at it from like the Xerneas perspective as well, everyone looks at it with such tunnel vision, if that makes sense. And I think that's where a lot of Xerneas teams do come undone, is that no one really synergizes it like outside, because you realistically you will play some teams that will have like 5 answers to Xerneas on their team, and then that restriction doesn't help them out. And like there's been so many weird and wonderful pairings I've seen with Xerneas recently, like Xerneas Reshiram for whatever reason. Xerneas Solgaleo, like Necrozma form.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Reshiram.
Xerneas Reshiram.
Yeah, well, no, because Reshiram. I know.
They'll get wins, because as long as you have a Xerneas, you will get some wins, but it's not the best thing out there.
See, I really want to try looking at Kyogre, because I think that the Xerneas matchup at the moment, like either Kyogre or Lunala, but I think that either of those two is sort of the way that I want to see this team going, because the moment you do have the most anti-meta team to Xerneas being that Heatran one. I think with Kyogre, like if you're going to run U-turn on that Incineroar as that 4th move, you can turn a lot of that momentum back in our favour.
Reshiram.
You want to run Reshiram, Cats? I mean, we can if you... Do you want to? Like...
No. No, thank you.
Are you not
You
Boom
know
Guy?
my opinions on Reshiram.
Are you
No,
not...
I'm not Boom Guy.
Sharing a Boom Guy, trying to make Black-White work.
Reshiram and Zekrom work.
Yeah.
Reshiram Zekrom, make him great again.
What it being used today?
Zekrom.
I wasn't used today. He'll probably use it tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'll
like,
tell you what, I'll give credits to a man. I mean, I love the fact that he is going out of his way to try to use mons that are not really used as the common ones like Xerneas, Co, Groudon, Lunala, Yveltal.
He has been known
you know,
for it.
And you know what? Like, if I personally would love to have a team that people would think that looks terrible on paper. They come into the match completely undermined, giving it no respect, and all of a sudden you've got all this tech, all this, and there's a lot of factors in VGC. Items, speed tiers, your EV spreads, play with the Pokemon, board positioning. Tell you what, like, people can say what they like about Zekrom and Reshiram. Phil uses that team very well.
So, Graham, what do you think when your opponent has Mega Lopunny, Greninja, Blacephalon? What do you think?
They got no chance.
No chance.
What are they thinking?
Bro, I was running Raw Dramper for the Cloud9 ability to stop.
Like, I completely agree with you, Graham. Like, I'm all up for innovation and sort of using a team where it can do damage, it can beat a lot of the meta and stuff like that. But a lot of that becomes sort of fine lining, especially when you go into bigger tournaments.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen success with sort of your teams over a massive amount of tournaments in a lot of big tournaments. But you've had to play fantastic on your feet almost every game to achieve that. And whereas a lot of people in a lot of sort of areas bring sort of this standard stuff and go, oh yeah, I'll just grind out the games, do what I do, and I'll sort of maybe get my X2 or get better than that as well. And it depends on like this risk versus reward thing and how you want to play the game and how you see sort of your game style is really important to what the team you bring as well. Because as long as if you bring something that you're not comfortable with, whether that be standard or not standard, you're not going to do well with it.
So
Definitely.
I like how we're going on a really roundabout way just to decide, do we want to run a Xerneas with Lunala or Kyogre?
Put a Groudon on the team. Please put a Groudon.
Why are we running Groudon?
Put
My
Pdonnieson.
personal opinion, Groudon. He hits.
He
He
hits like a
common crest to
mofo.
Xerneas. Groudon covers really nicely.
Master,
Definitely.
It's simple as that.
you'll appreciate the nickname for Groudon.
Run Earthquake.
Run Earthquake next year is Xerneas. Got it, Cats.
Next year it's Incineroar.
Next year is
Because Groudon's main
Back in
stat
bringing
hits
the
both
Xerneas
the types that super affect Xerneas. So, like, that alone is enough to help cover it. And it's a lot more than just that. Like, Sun weakens Kyogres, which deal quite a lot of damage despite being neutral.
So if
So-
you chuck a Groudon on the team, Bird, I think the next step with that is to decide what the next Pokemon is, because you can't really determine what this. I just saw the nickname for it.
Is that good, Cats? Pdonnieson said Pdonnieson.
It really depends on sort of what sort of composition now you want with your team.
That's not Primal Groudon, it's just Pdonnieson.
PDE takeover.
It really depends on sort of what you want. Now, whether you want a slow Groudon for sort of a Bronzong set and to have Trick Room and sort of that support, or do you want a fast Groudon and go like Turbo mode with like Sonic Venusaur?
Sonic Venusaur.
Or you can.
Cats, don't worry. When you see the Bronzong set,
It depends on sort of what speed now you want your Groudon to be. Whether you want that slow Trick Room mode or whether you want to be fast or mid tier speed.
So, Cats, why should I be running Imprison on my Bronzong? Is that the ultimate tech support? Imprison Gyro.
If Bronzong could learn Sunsteel Strike, then I would all be for it. But sadly, it does not learn Sunsteel Strike.
Yes, it does, Cats, but it's not legal. It's not hackable.
Does Necrozma learn Imprison?
What? But like, isn't Gyro Ball so much more of a common way to beat Xerneas than Sunsteel Strike is? Like, Sunsteel Strike only matters from Solgalios. Because
I think Imprison's just a very
And Necrozma.
underwhelming move.
I think it can help, but as I said earlier, I was just mucking around with it. I think it's a cool, like, sort of pseudo tech. But the thing about...
I think a lot of people are running stuff like hypnosis, gravity to make sure you hit your P blades. You can put gravity so you can hit your swaggers 100% if you decide to go like a Finny.
So
A
are we
Finny
looking?
sort of variant.
Are we going Finny next then? Is that like the logical steps that we're going?
Well,
with?
it depends. It depends if you want to go that sort of Trick Room Groudon mode. You can not. You can just ignore this whole Trick Room Groudon mode and go straight into like a Ludicolo in case you verse Rain, or you can go to like a Venusaur if you want to abuse your Sun.
But see, I feel like having that Trick Room mode on Xerneas teams make those Xerneas teams a lot harder to play against, because I found that a lot of people's ways when they see Xerneas is to click the panic button, which is Trick Room. And if you can find a way to abuse that Trick Room, you have a very good position. And I think that a lot of people underestimate those Trick Room mons. And like we've seen how good Stack Attacker has become, like soared through viabilities, all because of Stone Edge and Gyro Ball. And like people are now foregoing that third offensive move for like Wide Guard. I've seen Safety Goggles, Ally Switch. I've seen like a lot of different Stack Attacker sets that I think that if you're not preparing for a way in which to pressure those Stack Attackers by removing their Trick Room, and I know that like for example the way Graham likes to do a lot of Trick Room teams is that Raw variant, but somehow he always seems to play Masto with the one counter tech to those Raws, that like you're forcing a lot more thinking about these teams. You're forcing them to think about like, okay, especially in best of threes, okay, game one, okay, he went for Xerneas in Sin, he's gonna like clear the board in 2 turns after he gets up that Geomancy. How do I stop it? Whereas by having a slow mode on the team, you're really forcing people to start playing those 50-50s. And I don't think that speed is a massive factor on Groudon, unless it has to be one, the ability to get up your Sun against Kyogres on that first turn, if you're trying to go for those mirror matches. And then secondly, it's about can you outspeed that Kyogre to lower its water spout damage. And if you can't do either of those, I think Groudon really suffers, because Groudon is the second most Pokemon that everyone's preparing for. That like Ludicolo is being seen on a lot of teams as that double fake out option, because it just helps with those matchups a lot. It just grass knots these Groudons. Have I killed cats?
Yeah, like I agree. Why does it always fall back to me? This is annoying.
Well, because like cats, I think that you're a really good builder in this format. And that's why I'm asking for your.
It sort of depends on sort of how you want to treat your Trick Room sort of matchup. Like you said, having that sort of speed control is very important. Speed with Groudons, I think, is still very important. Because it solely depends on probably what item you want to run as well. Like whether you want to run this very popular choice band variant that I've been seeing running around, being able to kill Incineroars at -1. Or you want to run sort of a variant that has a bulky berry one, or yeah, those are really your 2 options. I don't see much Heat Rock running around.
Heat Rock, oh my lord. Cats, what do you play against in Melbourne, man? The C teams that have a chart Y, Heat Rock, Heat Rock.
Heat Rock. I think Bronzong is a very acceptable mon to sort of have. So this gravity sort of set sort of helps it live. Now for the item for Zong, you can maybe run something along the lines of Mental Herb, but it depends how prominent you sort of want to deal against Taunt. I would almost consider going for like a dark move. A Dark Berry, if you could run a Dark Berry. So, like, if you verse something along the lines of if you Veltool, you're sort of safe enough to get sort of a no damage on your Bronzor while clicking sort of Tricker and starting to set up and start along those lines.
So are we putting you to sleep, Cats? I'm really sorry.
No, I'm just tired.
So what do you, I'm just thinking, do we want to have that skill swap option on our Bronzong to
For
Like-
what reason?
to help with the weather matchup, but also as well to help like recycle intimidates with Incineroar and things like that. Like you can have that levitate.
I think if you're running gravity, your sort of options are limited in the fact that if you want gravity, you're probably running hypnosis. If you're running gravity, you probably want Jarble and you need Trick Room.
Alright, so it looks like a very Graham team at the moment. There's no protect besides on the Xerneas restrict crowd on. So now that we have
It's not for-
Graham.
an Ammodee team.
Graham team.
It is though. Just so
Well, a lot of Trick Room mons don't really have protect on them, so it's quite. So if you're running sort of a Trick Room, if you want to have this Trick Room sort of Bronzong, you probably wouldn't run something along band grounded. You'd probably go around the bulky variant,
yeah.
running a
Faggot
berry sort of in that respect, unless you want to go crazy and run
White herb.
something like a bright powder or
What about white herb on your ground?
a,
So you can attack from neutral.
I think.
Brisbane, man.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's what Graham runs. It's Brisbane, man.
Do you actually, Graham?
Yeah. Sometimes. Only on days that in white.
Only on days that... Are they the same days that you only go to the gym? Only on days that end with Y?
Yeah. How do you know all these things?
Oh God, Graham, come on, please. You're better than that. You're better than...
But like, if you think about it though, like a lot of...
Next time you swap your Incineroar into Liverhead, you can thank me for that item later. Yeah, look, it has it. Look, it has its pros
Nah,
and cons.
I understand.
I like
I understand the
it.
concept. I understand the concept. It's like something.
I hate Intimidate so much, so
Run
that's
adrenaline
why I put it
orb.
on.
Oh. Run adrenaline all sorts, man.
Wait,
Adrenaline all SD.
wait,
Be faster than Taffy Coco. Start replacing everything.
wait, go for Psych Up with your Groudon into the Xerneas slot. That's the way to beat it. You get the...
An eruption.
Oh, I can't wait. Bring it back. Psych up Primal Groudon. Bring it back. I think it's also interesting. So, like, now that we have this Bronzong, Groudon, Incin, Xerneas sort of core, are we more leaning towards cats because we have this sort of Trick Room option? Are we, like, I think that you turn sort of better on our Incin, and then looking towards
Yeah, that's fine.
like that AV set, because then I think, you know, we're getting closer to finishing the team that we can sort of muck around with it and watch Bird suffer at how bad he is with the game, which I think we all want to see. So looking at Xerneas, Incin, Pdonnieson, and Bronzong,
Yeah, you do have CP.
I'm-
CP.
the best players at events finish fourth. I'm better than Moon Guy. I have CP. So once you have these 4 cats, like, what are you looking at next? Like, I think that Crobat could be a really nice addition on this team with the Haze support, and then looking at a Tapu as the last slot.
It's an option. Whether it's the best option, I'm not sure.
I think you're tossing up between sort of Tailwind now, or if you want to have more support for your Xerneas. I think those are the two sort of.
Because I sort of like Crobat.
As good as Haze is for stopping other Xerneas, the thing is Haze affects everything on the field, so...
Yeah, Graham, why are you running a White Herb on your ground when you can just click Haze with your Crobat? Have you ever played Pokemon before, mate?
Great.
Yeah, I'll just trial and error, boys.
Nah, he clicks Swords Dance and then he hazes his Swords Dance or whatever he's doing.
He's got to get back to neutral somehow, cats.
He's got
Yeah.
to give his opponents mercy somehow after he's killed two. After he's killed all their team.
We don't call him Freeze GC for nothing.
I wouldn't mind going something along the lines of a Ludicolo or a
I like Ludi on this team. I like...
or a Venusaur or an Amoonguss. I think we need a sort of a bulky or grass type or a grass type that abuses some form of weather.
I think...
Because the way it's looking like right now, if we lose sort of a...
Cradillion Sand.
A less common grass
Is this
type.
why you're here, Pdonnieson?
No, Damon's just DM me saying put Ludicolo on the team.
Is Damon watching the stream? Oh, big fan,
Yeah,
big
guys,
fan,
I
Damon.
think Damon's watching.
I love you,
We-
Yeah,
Damon.
he said that in the chat.
The scrubs.
Hey, Damon, Bird is running Zekrom Reshiram. What are your thoughts?
Wait, if you're lucky, we can have a Yao team in the hour. Do you like no psychic
Yeah,
stuff?
I think Ludicolo is a very important Pokemon because we've got two of our mons being sort of ogre food at the moment, and a Ludicolo sort of nullifies that sort of aspect.
See, I really like looking at like a fake out grass knot, icy wind, and do we want to forego that water move on Ludi? As weird as that sounds.
Well, I thought we were gonna have Crobat. I thought we were getting rid of Crobat.
Oh, I put
I
Crobat.
thought we weren't having Crobat.
Okay, Cats, we cannot have Crobat just for you.
I thought we were gonna put Finny on it.
Oh, you can put Finny. I was just thinking of Crobat because I really like the Super Fang support with Groudon and Xerneas, so that you don't need to be a like.
But like, if we want to have like sort of gravity sort of.
Yeah, I can understand that. So we're looking at
No,
Finny.
no, that's fine.
No, it's fine, Cats. So we're looking at
Run
Ludi.
Hypnosis Crobat.
Hypnosis Crobat.
Run Hypnobat.
So with this Ludicolo, are we still looking to go that traditional set of fake out grass knot, Scold, and then like filler, or are you looking at a different?
And sort of a tech move. Yeah, I mean, it depends on sort of what you want to achieve versus Kyogre. Whether you want to chip it a little bit and sort of stay on the field, where an Assault Vest set is kind of like just sits there and it doesn't die. Or you want to like just do big damage to sort of this Kyogre with a grass knot.
So if we're gonna go this fake out grass knot Scold, I think we'll go Assault Vest. Do we want? I think Icy Wind on our sort of team could sort of help us out a little bit. Just that little bit more speed control as well can really help. Because I don't really see what other move you would want to go. Like I understand that Ice Beam's like really good, but like you could go knock off.
It can help against the grass types as well if you like pairing the Ludicolo with Kyogre.
Oh, so is this what we're going to look at, Graham? HP Fire Ludicolos to send in our Groudons to
I run HP Fire Ludicolo. I've run it before. I'm a madman.
Cats, don't you also...
It works.
Helps against the Cartan matchups.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Cats, don't you also go for Electrium Z's into Lando T's? You're a madman, man. I can't keep up with you.
Who needs a Z move, hey? Let's blow it.
Yeah.
That's what she did.
We play the worst format. I don't know, I see.
It's
Z
Australia.
moves are disgusting.
Yeah. So, with this Finny, are we going to go that like support set of Swagger, Heal Pulse, and then a Haze and like Icy Wind?
Yeah, I'd assume so. I mean, you can sort of run Haze, or you can go. It depends what type of Finny that you want. Because we're running a slow Groudon, we're probably forced to run a slow Finny. A slower Finny. For the item choice, it depends on sort of how you want to deal with what it wants to do. So, because we're probably running Don, Swagger's probably a big upside.
Also, we can swagger our Bronzongs to make sure it OHKOs every Xerneas.
Oh,
I would
and
also
yourself.
I would also probably put a Moonblast on. I would want a Moonblast
Over a Heal Pulse?
on the Finny.
Or
Or you're not really achieving much from a Heal Pulse, I don't think.
that's fine. And then what, Haze Icy Wind or Haze Protect? I think having that Haze option can really demonstrate what like Graham was trying to show earlier. About like just making sure that like the most underrated way to beat Xerneas, and your own Xerneas at the same time, is by that Haze option. So I think that like Haze should sort of stay on the set. It's just what do you want to go for that fourth move, Cats? Because I sort of feel like with the offensive nature on that team, you're not really going to be protecting with Finny at any stage of this game.
I think Icy Wind's necessary. I think Heal Pulse is maybe a bit too much.
Okay. So now we have the reason we have the whole reason we have Donnie on this. Donnie, make EV spreads. Thank you. Lots of love, bird. Like, how would you EV this team, Donnie, though? So we got the Insin, like, down pack.
So I would probably look at the Xerneas speed first because it's the fastest Pokemon on your team.
Yeah.
Alright, so how fast are we going? The timid set? Or modest?
So it sort of depends on what you want to do.
I want to win games,
I
Cats.
think you're a lot more justified. Yes.
I said I want to win games, that's all I care about.
You want to win game, then run Choice Band, Close Combat, Horn Leech, Xerneas.
Is that so Walker can run Bulu?
With Bulu, so you can Horn Leech it in grassy terrain and kill the Kyogre.
It's broken, Cats. So what sort of
That's broken, yeah.
So what sort of speed set are we looking at for our Xerneases?
Well, considering we're running Sun, we probably want to be faster than Venusaur. After a Geomancy / before a Geomancy, depending if Sun's up. So, from memory, the speed you need to outspeed Venusaur, that is timid max, because we EV for the worst case scenario, and a lot of Pokemon, in fact. So, if you want to outspeed Pokemon, threats to it like Krogunk. If you want to outspeed threats to it like...
Did you just say
Venusaur
Krogunk?
would be more concerned about toxic Krogunks than me.
Oh, yeah, okay, sorry, wrong Pokemon. You'll understand, it's the frog shit.
The fucking frog.
It's Pepe.
The frog shit.
It's Pepe.
Modest max is sort of a option, because you nicely outspeed those things, I think, by 1 point.
But then
or by a couple points. I think it's by 1 point, actually, if memory serves.
I think
or you can go timid with a max invested timid with Slumber. You can, or max invested timid with no bulk to sort of,
because I really like having a bit of bulk on my Xerneas, to be honest. Just like a little bit of bulk. So like I think
the absolute slowest I would go in Xerneas is outspeeding Smeagol.
Which is Smeagol based.
Oh no, wait.
No, okay. So the current
Smeagol hits 139. That's the absolute lowest I would go.
So the current,
but I would probably go a fair bit faster than that if I was building one.
I was gonna say the Xerneas currently outspeeds Toxicroaks, like Jolly Max Toxicroaks, outspeeds base 85s. Do we want to creep those base 90s? And I feel like maybe that's where we sort of. I feel like that's sort of the next relevant. Like I think the more we talk about it, the faster and faster our Xerneas is going to get, because we just need that speed. I feel like. Because otherwise we're gonna like lose to Boom Guy. And I don't.
Lose to Boom.
Yeah, that's not acceptable.
I haven't lost to him yet, so I want to keep my record intact.
We're not losing to bad players out here.
Don't ask.
Hello, Boom Guy. If you're watching, I'm assuming you're not.
He's too busy. He's finding the next tech.
We say this not because we love you, but because you or she can't. No, I'm joking.
He's a national champion, Cats. You show him the proper respect that he deserves.
National champion. I would like to play the Great Tornado as well in top 16.
The Great Tornado. Okay, so we
The
got.
Great Tornado.
So do we just want to go like timid max? Because I feel like it's sort of the way our Xerneas has to be. Where do you want to put the 4 cats? We're going timid max Xern. Just to speed tie, like Yveltals.
Yeah, I mean, like, considering Yveltal's probably a threat to every other one in our team, I think it's justified.
Is that especially
having
like
timid Max Xerneas on this team?
Is that especially considering Tapu Fini? Like, is that the biggest threat?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So
Like, if you're as long as you're faster than Modest Max, you're outspeeding stuff like your Venusaurs, your Serenas, your Tapu Finis, your Toxicroaks, your Quillfishes that are out of rain.
Yeah. So where do you?
There's that Northern Sun.
So Master, where's the most effective space to put our spot to put our 4 EVs from our Xerneas in? Would you go 4 defense just for those Gyro Balls and other rubbish moves that people are running?
I mean, it depends in terms of how much special attack you wanted to kill stuff with and how important you value your special attack. I haven't run too much Timid Xern in this format, so I don't really know the calcs off the top of my head. But you probably want enough special attack that you still 2-hit KO other Xerneas. And you probably are you 2-hit KO other Dons.
Other Pdonnisons. I'm gonna go train a Tailcow because I just need the auto level 50 feature.
No, don't go train a Tailcow.
Which
Yeah,
calculator
that'd
go?
be bad.
Okay, we'll just keep typing it in auto 50. Just waste extra time. Oh, it's saying that with timid. So cats, I don't think with timid zone you can two-shot other Xerneases.
Can't you?
Because, like, it depends on their bulk investment, but 7,200, which is common in Ubers. Like, if you go timid 252, you'd probably want to go. But I feel like our role of our Xerneas is not to kill other Xerneases, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's.
Well, I mean, Don's the major one then. If you kill Don,
Groudon.
would be cool.
Let's look at the Stealth Rock ones.
Graham, do you run Timid Xerneas? What are your thoughts? Or do you run Timid Xerneas?
It's a toss-up between like more of a modest, bulky zone that can tank a bit more from the physical steel hits.
I think a key thing in building as well is to maybe to begin with not to overcomplicate things.
All right, let's not.
If I'm a beginner, I'd just go max speed timid.
Yeah.
But if there's certain matchups that if you're getting familiar with certain damage calcs and you know that you can say take a certain guard ball from certain Pokemon, if you invest just a bit of defense or HP EVs, then I recommend probably more of a modest one. You get more stats overall if you go that way. But it just depends what your priority is, really.
Yeah, I'm just
I
gonna.
mean, I think a modest like Xerneas works well with those teams that have Tailwind and Trick Room. Gives it the option to be a bit more bulkier under Trick Room, tank a few more hits.
Why does?
Whereas, if your team's more hyper offensive, then you just go the max. Get the G up as fast as you can, and then that way you're walling some of the stuff that's hitting you specially.
I think you guys have raised some good points. So let's like simplify the EVs a lot. I probably should have made a new ult for this, but oh well. So the Bronzong, what do you want to go? Max Spadef? Is that what we're going to talk about? Like just go straight Max to Spadef Bronzong, or is that one where you go a little bit more complex?
Sorry. After sort of with this Zong, it depends what ability you want to run. Whether you want to run Heat Proof or you want to Levitate.
I think
that's also a major thing because that's how you're sort of going to AV your allocation.
I'm going Levitate.
Or have your allocation of EVs.
I'm going Levitate.
So you're going Levitate. So if you're going,
I think Levitate's to go.
So if you're going like sort of this Levitate set, you probably want to list stuff like you want to probably take stuff comfortably, like a Flare Blitz from Incineroar, maybe Insan and stuff like that.
Also maybe an Intimidated knockoff from Yveltal, max attack like Life Orb, for example.
I think we're Culpepper.
If you're Culpepper,
We
that's
should
right.
be able to.
Alright,
Probably.
Like, it's curious to calc anyone.
I can't
What else
remember.
is it? Maybe.
I'm just gonna put random stats in that I know that sort of hit random benchmarks because I promised Henry I was gonna watch his game and not stream during his game, so that's like 40 minutes time. So I think I just want to like rush the EVs and sort of test the team, and like I'll fix the EVs up a little bit later if like we can stream another time and like continue working with the team. But I just know that, for example, there's certain things that like I want this team to be able to function and do. So I'm just going to put those EVs in now, and then we can just muck around and test it. Because I think that like while building is a very important aspect of Pokemon, a lot of people don't play test enough with their team. They sort of just play, like for example, like they'll play 1 or 2 games and be like, oh, my team's sweet for this event. When realistically they should have play tested another 10 times and they would have seen a flaw with their team. If that makes sense. So we need to go 84. Sweet.
Hello.
Hello? Did I cut out massively?
Yes.
Hello, cats.
Yeah, I felt that cut up massively as well.
Sorry, I was gonna say like while we can like theorem on about the EVs and all that for a while, I think that it's sometimes better just to playtest. I think that's what I want to do. So
Yeah, that's fine.
so I've just rushed it, but like, cats, which alt are you on?
What else am I?
Because I'm just on my main.
I'm on my main actually.
It says Mastodon is offline. I'll just join Toho Falls.
Oh, hang on. Wait, let me flash. I think we had a thingy cut out like at some point. But
God bless bird internet. Oh.
Potato internet.
Yeah, man. Dodo's the way to go. Toto Fall doesn't exist. Alright, let's get some battles going. For some potato internet.
So are we showing some how to use Xerneas and
Yeah.
talk through some of the setup? Yeah. Let's do it.
I really should turn off notifications. Why do we have to play?
Oh,
What?
game 1.
This guy has like 8 answers to to like Xerneas. I don't understand why. Like I feel like this is a game where this guy does not have answers for like Groudon and Trick Room.
I would personally lead Incineroar Xerneas.
Oh really? Okay, Cass, let's do it. What, is that like? Are you being serious, Cass? Or you just like make?
No, I am 100% being serious. Why wouldn't I be serious?
I feel like you're joking. But
yeah,
I'm gonna
I
trust.
don't mind that lead either.
Yeah, look,
I
I
don't
think
mind that lead either, bro.
I think if we're showing the viewers how we're going to set up Xerneas, I think you got your 2 fake out options there. Probably the reason why you're going to go Incineroar over Ludicolo is, for one, is that Incineroar exerts that intimidate pressure on the Kartana straight away, which can do the big damage to Xerneas, which is what we're talking about, trying not to let him pop too much damage. Also intimidates the Groudon, so here's some physical attack moves don't do as much damage. At the same time, we have that pivot option. We have, if we have Raw, we can potentially Raw their setup Xerneas. We can also, do big damage to Amoonguss. We can tank some hits from Tapu Lele as well. Like overall, just from the 6 that we see here in front of us, he's pretty solid. Just the only thing I would be looking out for is that Crobat, because in team preview, when you have a bit of knowledge on what Pokemon have certain abilities, that inner focus ability is key for that Crobat, so you can get a Taunt off or a Haze or anything to sort of stop the Xerneas from setting up.
See, I want to lead in Xerneas with Tapu Fini in the back, because just to stop that.
And I would say Groudon.
Yeah, I'd go Groudon too.
Okay. Ooh.
Oh.
Is there any reason?
So that's not Scarf sort of Tapu Lele, because your Fairy Aura went first before the Psychic Surge.
Yeah. Do you sort of?
I would almost be happy of clicking sort of Flare Blitz into that Kartana and switching your Xerneas into the Tapu Fini.
I see. I'd rather.
Did we pocket? Sorry, guys. Did we pocket?
Fini Don.
I feel like protecting Xerneas is a better play for now, at least. Or do you want to just go hard in that Fini? Because I don't see a way.
Yeah, we could protect that.
I think it's just a sort of safe play. Sacred Swords. Ooh, that is a lot. Sweet.
That was a fair bit.
I think that pops you into barrier range anyway, though. So
yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, that's a really good offensive turn 1. Do we?
I think we could switch up terrain.
Yeah. Do we just? But like, is there a reason not to just go hard into Fini here, with like in the instant slot, and just like go for a? I'm.
How much does that Moonblast do to Groudon again?
It should be like a 2-shot. I feel
I reckon. Are we modest guys?
No, we're
timid.
modest or timid? Timid.
We're timid.
I still
If
feel
we're
like
timid, probably doing if they're say a bit of HP investment, probably doing just shy of 50%.
yeah,
If they're not bulky, maybe a bit more.
because I just want to switch up
So-
terrains this turn. Got the Misty Seed going. Oof.
Oh, fuck, that's a meaty hit.
Yeah, that Groudon doesn't have bulk.
That's like a
As you can tell there, he's probably max speed, max attack, adamant.
his life orb.
I would go into the Incineroar here.
I just want to fake out the Groudon this turn in Icy Wind.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Take out
I
Icy Wind.
don't see an issue with that play.
Because then, like... Sweet. So now we just go for another Icy Wind, don't we? Like, there's no reason not to. And do we just knock off...
Yeah, I would go into Icy Wind.
Icy Wind...
Icy Wind. I would probably Flare Blitz the
The Lele.
Lele.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to lose a couple Mons here.
Actually hit that. It's fucking bullshit.
Probably Will Berry would be a lot better position with our Finny, but maybe that's something to look at for like in between games. I think it comes down to what's in that last slot.
Agree.
I don't think we're in that bad a position.
We're in a good position.
Oh, couldn't be in a more perfect position now.
I think you just swagger your own Don and click P Blades.
Oh no,
Yeah.
my Finny's slower than my Groudon. Oh no.
Oh no.
Because I don't know why, but I made it.
So what do you have on your thingy?
The Finny. Moonblast, Icy Wind, Haze. Do we want to Haze and...
I would almost go for Haze P Blades.
Haze people, it sounds cool.
Yeah.
Unless he goes for like Protect. Yeah. Nice.
I think
And then P Blades should get the knockout here because of the single target.
Single target people should pick up.
Single target P. I don't think Fire Punch will kill.
Master,
So I
what-
think you need to go for the
Ah,
single
wait,
target
you
P
want-
Blades.
Master, what's the damage output difference between like... Ooh, that's my berry. What's the damage output difference between like single target and double?
It's usually about
Something like 1.2 or like
Yeah,
1.3.
around that.
yeah.
Always. I mean, this is a rough guide. Don't quote me on this, but I always think like just say that P Blades is doing 60% to. Actually, it's probably if it's doing like 80%. To when there's two Pokemon on the field, I reckon it'll OHKO if it's just a single target. So like as Kat said, probably that 1.2.
Alright, so we're in our next game. We're playing Charizard Solar Power in the sun.
That's broken. I
Yeah,
think this is a game where we can sort of like get Trick Room up, set up the Don, and go for like gravity stuff.
So do you want to lead Incin Bronzong then? Or what we're leading?
I mean, we technically could just go Xerneas. I mean,
You have some
like-
points.
See,
I reckon this is.
I think we can bring the core four of
Incin's Pdonnieson and Bronzong in the back.
yeah.
And so like I
I
think
think those four are good
I
enough.
think that's also a good example, Cats, of you showing people that like the core four that you're going to build around is like you're having those two Pokemon in the back for those text matchups. That makes sense. Scalvin, don't join our games. Watch the stream. I need the viewership. I'm just gonna fake out Geomancy this turn. Oh no! It's gonna. Wait, what?
That's fine. I would go for Flare Blitz into the
Where's Macott?
COD and switch into Zong.
What? Switch our Xerneas into the
Zong.
You sure? All right, Cats.
Yes. Do you trust me? This is
my-
fine.
How does he
This is-
do
this-
it? How does he do it?
How does he do it?
Man,
Did he taunt Liquors and slot?
Oh, he's not seriously man's not hot. Fuck. Nothing good comes from that phrase.
man's not hot in our temperature. So what do you
I
want?
think now you switch out your Incineroar into your Groudon.
Yeah. And Bronzong, do we go for Garble into the Groudon?
Groudon.
Man, it's not hot in our temperature. Oh, what? That's
Pdonnieson.
Pardoni. Is that meant to tickle?
Yeah.
Do we just SD gravity this turn?
You
Like,
can't Gravity or Taunted.
Yeah.
So I would go for P-Blade. And
I just want to bring in the hard bring in the Incin.
yeah, he's gonna go for I reckon hard bringing the Incense fine.
Just because. Oh, Cats, have we done it again?
Nice.
Nice.
Is that good?
Now
He
I think
basically
the solar power Charizard's a bit annoying now.
Do we? So the question.
But
here,
I would almost go
The Buckley.
for
do we just want to P-Blade's Trick Room this turn? Like, it's a really risky.
I think you're very fine if you just keep your pocket zone in the back with your Incineroar. So I don't think you mind losing 2 things or 1 thing this turn. So you could go for like a Fire Punch into the Dawn, or you could go for like a Trick Room if just in case he doesn't kill your Zong.
Yeah, I think. Man, that not hot. So Cats.
Did a lot.
Yeah, I feel like we want to go into our. I think it's specs. I think like we want to go in Sin Zone this turn and go for knockoff into that Charizard slot and protect our Xerneas.
Yeah, I think he's gonna fake out your Incin.
Yeah, but you can't protect the Incin, Cats.
No, he's gonna fake out the Incin.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that, like, I think our play is to knock off the Charizard because you want to get rid of that specs. Like,
Can you just fake out the Charizard and then like Sun's gone like at the end of this turn?
what if it's Heat Rock Groudon though? So what we're gonna do? We're gonna fake out. Okay.
I would fake out the Zard
And Geo.
and go for Geomancy.
Yeah, that's what I would do too.
That's pretty good. I just love Zin.
And I think you can just sort of like knock off Geo.
Yeah.
Next minute Incin is. This is gonna do so much damage because this is specs.
What?
That's specs.
Charizard's broken. Why aren't I using this?
Yeah, it's choice specs.
Charizard.
To be honest, if we protected that turn,
Charizard's broken. I'm using this.
Cats, if we protected that Xerneas, like this is an X. Like there's no way we win this. Like I don't think there's a reason.
Nah,
I think I think that game was determined by us not protecting our like you are really underestimated Charizard, Cats, and that's so ironic.
I know that's not like me.
Because we probably got time for
I didn't consider the Groudon switching next turn. I was fucking still on my end.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, I'd like to knock off protector as well.
Oh no, we're playing. Wait, Cats, look at what we're playing. We're playing the Bulldoze Settlements teams. I think it's time to bring.
Oh, this is cool.
I think it's time to lead Ludicolo Fitting.
Ludicolo Fitting.
Nah, but like, think about it like that, Cats. I can't beat it. It's broken. Nah. Ludicolo Xerneas, I think, is the lead of choice, and then Pocket Groudon Bronzong.
Yeah, that's what I would. Yeah, that's what I would do. Instant's not too useful here.
Quick turn on timer. Hurry up. Don't have time for this.
Just for those watching at home, you got to use every tool to win your points on Play Showdown.
TTM Tails.
TTM Burb Tails.
Set that timer.
Yeah.
Put that pressure on.
Got it. You know, if you don't put timer on, you're just missing out on time in the gym, in my opinion.
Yeah. And really, you shouldn't be resting for that long in between sets, guys.
Is that what the downfall of Pokemon is? You need to start supersetting games.
That's it, mate. You guys are quick learners today.
Is this guy going to make a move? Like, I've got places to be.
Yeah, I also
like
know
in the
places.
in the in the 1300s,
Nah, mate, that's too advanced, Graham. You mean the 1100s?
1100s. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where Coach K is.
You know, I still can't get over the fact that my team didn't get out of the thousands, but it somehow came fourth in a Newcastle PC. I couldn't win more than 4 games in a row until it came to Newcastle. Sweet. Let's see what he leads.
Oh, he eventually got there.
Oh. Is there any reason not to fake out the Ludicolo? Because I think we're... Like, I just want to fake out Ludicolo.
Honest, Ludi.
Yeah, we're...
Zern's faster than Men's as well.
Yeah.
Just be careful of Raw, guys.
Yeah.
Maybe do a Geo the next turn. Just scout him out. I reckon fake out Ludi and just
I just
moonblast.
lost.
What are we playing? We should have... If we...
That's cool. You can Geo this turn, man.
Nah, I don't want to now.
And probably just Ice Beam the Ment.
We don't have Ice Beam. We're HP Fire.
I felt like if we Geomancied and then like you went for Gleam.
What if you just went for Raw?
Yeah, actually, I've got a question. Is there a downside to hard switching into Ludicolo, into Bronzong, and then Trick Rooming next turn as we Gleam this turn? Like, I don't see a downside to that play. Like, sure, he can bring in the
You've got a heap of options.
Like, sure, they can bring in the bring like something.
That's fine. You could just play to that accordingly.
Because like, I know,
Oh boy!
Is that a read? I see James Katsaros. Is that?
That's pretty cool.
Graham, that's
Oh
standard.
boy, the lion is here to play.
Yeah, but
Well,
like,
you definitely want Trick Room.
thanks.
If he brings in Ludi, like, who's your back line?
I'm just gonna Trick Room this turn and go to Ludi again, because I just fake out Sol Galio next turn. And
Flare Blitz. Oh no, you got straight for Sunset.
Oh no!
Oof.
That's so annoying.
Lucky and bad.
Oh.
That's like game though. I can't predict bad players. They always get hacks.
I think you click Trick Room Geomancy.
What? Okay, cats.
No, that's not terrible because like either he'll take out Bronzong or he'll take out Xerneas.
Oh.
Oh, that's rubbish.
We're just P-Blades this turn, cats, don't we?
Moving into-
Don't we have to go for a...
Fourth one, Don. This can still win.
Don't we
Hypnosis?
just have to go...
Fuck that. Gravity P-Blade, yeah.
Yeah, you got
Well,
gravity.
Follow can just Grass Knot.
Yeah, but he's not life up, so he shouldn't kill. So you can go like
Kill. Alright.
gravity.
Alright.
If
Oh,
we're on speed, we're probably slower.
cats, you're a madman, but I love you.
That was a great on Kyogre.
Because now you can just go Hypnosis on the Yoga and go P-Blades again. Or you can go Hypnosis on the Solgaleo and be a baller.
I would Hypnosis the
I
Kyogre.
would Hypnosis the Kyogre.
Fucking scale that cunt's got one god.
Yeah, Hypnosis the Yoga.
Hypnosis the Yoga.
Oh, that seems like switching into Ludi though and clicking Protect because he's a game.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That's fine.
That's dead, though. That's all I care about.
Stop! He's on.
So you just go P-Blades Hypnosis again.
Wait, you sure,
Yeah.
cats?
Yeah, you P-Blade to Hypnosis the Kyogre. Because Ludi's gonna fake out one of them.
That Kyogre you crit it, so it did like 60%. So you should do like
That wasn't
what,
a crit, cats. That...
40.
Oh, was
Yes,
it?
it was.
Oh, yeah.
On the Kyogre, it was a crit.
Yeah, so what do we do? Hypnosis?
So you should do roughly 40%.
I'm
don't
protecting.
think.
I'm protecting. I'm playing it safe.
Yeah,
Sword
but he's gonna
Dance.
fake out. He's gonna fake out. He's just gonna.
Balls, man.
Oh,
Yes.
Pussy!
pussy lipped. I swear.
When he just, yeah.
Oh.
Nice.
So the other play last time was fine.
Yeah.
Cats, you're my king. We just
I'll
trick.
click protect.
I just trick her.
Protect Trick Room again.
Cats, you're my idol. I think this is gonna be the last game. I have to retire on a win.
Pdonnieson's gonna get the win.
Pdonnie, winning. Oh, we forgot to name the Incineroar the right name. Pdonnieson.
Pdonnieson.
J.Sims.
According to Brady, apparently this team is what Cybertron runs at the moment, and apparently it's Raw Salomon. So Graham was right. How do we win now?
Because now you can just go gyro fire punch.
All right. Oh no, is this game? Oh, never
That's a
mind.
threat.
Bronze
Sword stands there for real.
sword stance in real.
Oh,
Oh, we got time for one more. One more. Always one more. Got to get in the 1300 for my.
finish with a bang.
Got to get.
Also, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like this team's horrible.
Thanks.
I feel like
It's just a sample team.
it's just it's nothing set in stone.
Yeah.
Early stages.
early stage. Don't take my word for it.
Verb, can you dump this?
We're just showing the evolution of making a great team, guys. It doesn't just.
This is gonna win
as a
worlds.
world champ team.
This team.
Unless you're Pdonnieson.
That's it for Pdonnieson.
Oh, but honestly, it was a world champ.
That's
On 42 CP.
Who's the king?
The man's got more CP this season than he has in his last 3.
So more CP than
2016 was a great year for CP.
2016 was a great year.
All right. What are we doing? Tapu Finny? I feel like Finny's the lead. Do we just lead Finny Groudon?
Is
You're versing XY, so I wouldn't mind myself to lead Ansenzonius.
Oh no, Cat, you're not allowed to help him beat XY because that's what I've been running.
Yeah. I think Ansenzonius is fine with a pocket Groudon in the back in case he leads something like a stack attacker.
I feel like Finny in the back is probably that.
Finny's good too.
I have a Facebook notification. I really just want to check it. It's annoying me that I can't check it. Alright, it's going to be Raw Arcanine.
Oh, that'd be pretty good.
I feel like just U-turning this turn into that Ludicolo slot and Moonblasting it. Like, I don't see a reason not to, so that's the play I'm going to make.
I think you could have protected U-turned the Xerneas. Because you protect and you bring in the Don, and you can just like throw it in the P-Blades.
Yeah, but I just wanted to see how much damage I'm going to do, because does that Snarl drop matter? Like, do we just protect this turn and go for P?
Oh, with the Ludicolo.
Yeah, like, do we just... Don't...
He could have something like the Grass Knot, so I would actually not be too upset clicking like a Moonblast into Ludicolo and bringing back Incineroar.
I just love how Cats is just like, protects 2 mainstream. I feel like this next turn...
Mainstream. What do you mean?
Protect. I feel like just... Oh, that's the play. I feel like just U-turning the Ludicolo this turn and bringing in Groudon into that Xerneas slot.
Yeah, that's what I would do as well.
Yeah.
It's nearly like it's 2 good players talking to one another.
And then there's Bird.
And then, did you see the one I said today about Bing playing Whitehill? One of these players makes very...
No, I didn't actually say that.
I said...
So bring in your Xerneas, yeah, that's pretty sort of safe-ish.
Why not just bring in Finny?
Bring in Xerneas.
Alright.
And you would go for here P-Blades Geomancy.
Yeah,
because you've got that setup that you want.
Master... Bing played Whitehill. I said one of these players is like renowned, loved by many, and the other is Nicholas Bingham.
So you know he's timid because he's faster than you?
We're timid as well, so it's a speed tie sort of thing. Okay, is there any reason this turn not just to protect and go out into our Incin to pressure that fake out next turn? Because I feel like that this turn, all it's going to happen is it's going to be a Moonblast into our Groudon slot and a Roar from that Arcanine. So I sort of want to Moonblast this Xerneas and protect our Groudon. I've been
But it said you disconnected.
Yeah, thanks.
It's because you left. You got 30 seconds left.
Yeah.
This is bad.
No, just go Gleam P-Blades.
Yeah, I was thinking Gleam P-Blades.
If my computer can load
Bird,
it.
you left. I reckon Gleam P-Blades is less punishing in case it goes for something like that Raw.
Yeah, I would have just tried.
Yeah, I feel like Archon for sure.
Maybe not.
Fuck.
Fucking
Dog strikes back.
The
How do
dog
you beat bad players?
at James Cutsross. How do we beat
Turn
them?
of the month.
Do we just haze this turn with our Finny?
I think you could just go straight for like fake out haze.
Yeah.
Or you can fake out. Fake out haze. I think you kind of need to go for the fake out haze.
We should have.
At least take out Archon.
Yeah.
Yeah, with some balls, boys.
We've got some balls.
Yeah, we.
You don't.
Knock off Archon. Oh no, he's eating his berry.
Do you want to?
You can
What,
just-
what moves we got on Finny? We got Icy Wind.
Yeah, gonna
Yeah.
Icy Wind Flare Blitz the Arcanine.
Well, Icy Wind kills.
No, Icy Wind knock off Arcanine.
Oh, that's not gonna kill the Xerneas, are you?
Shit.
No. You're not gonna kill the Xer.
But won't it make your Finny fast enough to get the second one off?
Ah, you killed it. It's all good.
Give me my berry.
Please,
That Flare Blitz is good because then you get your berry range.
Sweet.
That is for good.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
god. Oh no.
This is gonna be.
Please.
Hope...
Icy Wind knock off. Oh yes. Let's go, Fitty.
Okay, that's got to be AV Coco if it's not hitting that hard.
Oh no.
Oh, that's.
Oh,
What?
Oh,
What are...
that's broken. No.
What are we playing?
have we got Moon Blast?
Yes, we do. But we don't have. We're gonna lose to this. Oh no. Ah. All right, I think that's it because it's like 11:20 and Hobbit's about to play. So thanks for coming out to the stream. Hobbit, yeah, made a deal. All right.
Just thanks for coming.
Thanks.
What's
for...
Hobbit? What is
Thanks for
Hobbit doing?
jamming with us on a Saturday night, peeps.
Yeah.
Hopefully, learn a bit about Zern.
Yep.
Yeah,
Let's see.
hopefully you saw how Burb earned his 12 CP.
Oh, it's good to know that I only dropped 67.1% of this video of this stream. My internet's so bad. I need to fix that.
Hey, you live in Australia. You can't fix it.
DT.